Welcome back, party people. You are listening to Crossplay, our video game podcast here at the Whatnauts. It is Saturday, September 26th, 2020. And coming up on today's show, Microsoft has bought Bethesda for $7.5 billion. Amazon has announced their cloud gaming service, Luna, and we finally have a date for the Game Awards. But we will get to that stuff in just a bit. For now, my name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined, as always, by Ignacio Rojas.
I'm eating a cookie.
You're eating a cookie? What kind of cookie?
How do I explain it?
Sounds like a complicated cookie.
Yeah, I mean, think of an Oreo.
Okay.
With the white filling inside, but it's a bigger cookie, and the outside is a different type of cookie.
Is it like a macaroon type of thing?
Macaroon? I don't know
what they're called. You've seen the Pokemon anime recently? It's those cookies that they have.
No, recently I haven't.
Okay. Whatever. Chocolate chip is the best cookie.
I don't like chocolate.
Ignacio, what is wrong with you?
I don't know.
You got some things to work out.
Where do we start?
Some issues. Issues to work out. Ignacio, how have you been, though, besides this cookie?
Well, besides the cookie, it's been pretty okay. A pretty regular week over here. You know, classes and all, quarantine. It's just one of those regular weeks.
Now, do you get a chance to go out and eat often, or at least like have food delivered?
We don't do that often. Because we have food in here. Someone comes 2 times a week and prepares us food for the week, so we don't need it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Mm-hmm. If you did have to go out and eat at a restaurant or something like that, what is your favorite restaurant?
You mean what type of restaurant or what chain of restaurant?
Like, do you have a specific restaurant near where you live that's like, this is my favorite spot here?
Not really. We do have some places that we would frequent if we're going out.
Okay.
But yeah, nothing that I would say it's my favorite place.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hard man to please. Ignacio Rojas is.
No, I think it's the fact that I'm easy to please that I don't have a favorite.
Okay, the exact opposite. They're all good.
Yep.
Okay, that works. Let's see. If I had to pick a favorite restaurant, I think there's this pizza place out west in like the western part of the United States called Mackenzie River Pizza Company, and they have had one of the best slices of pizza that I have ever had in my life, and it was great. It was their meat lovers pizza, and it had like pepperoni and bacon, but then it also had strips of steak. It had sausage on it. It was decadent, but it was so good, and it was like, it's not the like really big and thin New York style, but it wasn't the like Chicago deep dish, like extra thick, extra, it was a good in between. And I was just like, this is perfect.
Yeah, it sounds good.
So good.
Indeed. I love me some meat lovers. Usually with pizza, I'm so easy to please with pizza that I don't have, like, whenever I eat a good pizza, I don't go, oh, it's my favorite pizza, because I always enjoy pizza. I do have some that I enjoy, but
see, I like pizza so much that I have to be like, oh, this is not good enough. I'm kind of a pizza snob, but I also know nothing about pizza. Like, I'm not qualified to be like, this pizza is good versus this pizza is bad, right? But like, you still have to have some standards.
Yeah. Yeah, in general, I'm not good critiquing stuff. I'm just either I enjoy it or I don't. I'm too bad at differentiating stuff and saying putting one on top of the other.
I gotcha.
Just either I like it or I don't.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This week for me has been extra busy. Work was crowded with stuff that I had to do, so that was no fun. And unfortunately, because of that, I didn't get to play very many video games.
Mm.
I'm still playing Spiritfarer, which is the one that I'm kind of focusing on right now, but I really only got to play like 2 or 3 hours. So like not much. And so I'm at a part in the game where I can't really progress unless I get a bunch more resources.
Ooh.
Which then I need to use to build an upgrade for my ship that will get me past certain places. Like there's certain parts of the map that are blocked off by like ice or like these big stones and stuff. But if you get certain resources and upgrade your ship enough, you can get like things that go on the front of your ship that will destroy them. So it's just like you can go wherever you want. So that's what I'm working towards right now. I got a new crew member on my ship. It's like a dog. It's this older lady, and she takes the form of this like collie looking dog.
Okay.
If you know what I'm referring to. And yeah, she's quaint and she likes her tea, and it's a nice game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it sounds relaxing in a way.
It's very relaxing. I don't have to think too difficult about it. Yeah, like it's not super involved. You don't even really have to read what's happening to know what's going on. Right, which is kind of nice too, because you can just put on some music or a podcast or watch TV at the same time. But that's kind of all I've been able to do since work was so busy.
Sucks.
Stuff like that. So yeah, I was hoping to have played Hades, but I did not get to that.
But yeah, everyone's talking about Hades.
I can't decide if I want to play it on Switch or on PC. And
I would say Switch because it does kind of seem better fitted for the Switch. I would say because it is that type of game where you basically you go for a run and then you can either keep trying or just leave it there and you can pick it up, play for a couple of minutes and just go with your life. It kind of reminds me in that way to Rogue Legacy, where for example, I played Rogue Legacy on my PS4 when it first came out, but I think that when I started playing it on my phone, it got me, or I got even further than I ever got before because of that, because it's such a type of game that you can just pick up. It's meant for you to just pick it up and try to improve yourself little by little, see how far you can go. And it being such a portable manner where I can just open it up. In the case of Hades, it would be just unlocking my Switch and just pick it up. I think that it would be way more convenient for that type of game.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. But of course, they're always just like, well, it looks better on PC. You can see more detail. It's sharper. Stuff like that. But I'm just like, I kind of want it on Switch. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. I think that might be the next game that I buy. But what about you? What have you been up to? What have you been playing this week?
It hasn't been much of a change from last week. I'm still playing Avengers and Mario 64.
Okay, okay.
For Avengers, I'm still super surprised that I'm still playing through the game. And even though you would think that for that kind of game, what's bringing me back is either the story or trying to get the better gear or stuff like that, or the
Right.
weekly missions. It's not that. It's just that I enjoy playing it. I'm so surprised of how I just enjoy playing it, and even to this moment. And then stuff like better gear or the couple of story missions that I have, they're just something that's secondary for me, to the point that I know that there is a story there, that every mission kind of has a story, but I still don't pay much attention to that. It's just more
You're
that
just
I
like
enjoy playing it.
hitting buttons and smashing things.
Well, yeah, and it's even more than that to a certain extent. It's just knowing, oh, I am in this new, say, area, and I got enemies over here, I got enemies flying, enemies on the ground. There are certain stronger enemies. I have to plan out how I'll take them out. I play
Mm-hmm.
as Captain America, so when I get there, I try to take out every flying enemy at first, because I know that they are the ones that give me the most trouble while fighting on the ground. So just
Right.
select, start targeting them with my shield and trying to take them out, or all the other turrets, and then just fighting everyone on the ground. I just enjoy the gameplay.
Yeah. Does Cap do well against aerial bad guys? Because I feel like he would have more trouble with them.
No, I think that I would say that he does well against aerial enemies because of the shield. I One of the things that I like the most of the game. I said this before, that there are certain specific things in the game that I just love. For example, I love Iron Man's repulsors, or I like how the Hulk
Right.
can pick up enemies. For Cap, I just love throwing his shield, and so with his shield, I have it in. I upgraded him in a way where I can target several enemies with my shield, and I can toss my shield over to them, and then when my shield comes back to me, I can kick it back at them, and to keep that
Ah,
combo going. Or I have it
that's
so that
cool.
instead of targeting them with L2, I can just, or not targeting them. There is a auto lock on functionality that you can use, but also you can just throw it without locking on. And so I upgraded it in a way that if I throw it and I throw it again immediately after catching it, I can attack it again, but with a stronger attack. And then for the third time, I can attack them with an even stronger attack. And now, recently, I got one with where if I do it a fourth time, it's even stronger.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, so I would say Cap is good with aerial enemies, and also that
Okay,
shield of
that's
him.
fair.
It surprisingly enough, it works a lot well as a shield in the
Yeah.
game. You
Well,
can,
I mean, it's kind of what it's supposed
yeah,
to do. So, thankfully, it works.
yeah. But as you have started upgrading the shield, you can, instead of only deflecting or parrying physical attacks, you can now bounce back rockets, or if an enemy has a
Ah,
beam, you can
that's
you can
useful. Yeah.
actually direct the beam again back towards them as they're shooting at you.
Yeah. That's one thing that I like about the game, but also felt like I missed out on because I stopped once I beat the campaign, right? And
Hmm.
so I got to play around with some of the characters and I got to start to unlock some of their stuff. And like as I started to unlock that stuff, I was like, oh, sweet. Now I can jump up and do some kind of ground pound move, or, like this was the thing that I was looking for. So it looks like the combat does have some depth to it, but you
Hmm.
really have to stick it out and like unlock that stuff as you continue playing.
Yeah, in a certain way, you're right that as you keep going, the combat itself works more as how you wanted it to work, because
Hmm.
you have more freedom, more options to do it. But I would
Right.
say that even then, when you start out with each character, I would say that there is enough there that you would hope that there would be in there for each character. That I don't think that, at least for me, whenever I picked up a new character, I didn't feel that like I was missing something. But then
Yeah.
when I eventually got the unlock for whatever attack, I would then realize, oh, I I did want this other thing that I didn't know that I wanted.
Yeah. I think for me, I was kind of stuck on. I can't remember if it was Kamala, if it was like Black Widow or someone, but I liked both of their combat styles.
Hmm.
But I think one of them more early on is missing a move where you can jump up or jump off of something and then ground pound or do something similar.
Hmm.
And it was just like, I need that. Like that's the one thing that I think is like not here with that. And I think eventually I got it, so I was just like, all right, good, sweet.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I would
yeah,
say
still
stuff like
didn't get
ground pound,
the full thing.
a ground pound, or even a simple combo. Those are things that you can unlock pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
It, every character has their basic stuff, like having a ground pound, or if you're running and then you press square, that's a specific attack, or if you dodge and then you press square, that's a specific attack. Every character
Right.
has that that you can unlock pretty early on. But then as you keep going, for example, when I picked up Cap, because I was maining Iron Man before. When I picked up Cap, I I had to start that all over again. I had to get all the combo stuff, or the dodge and square, or the ground
Mm-hmm.
pound, and all that stuff. And I was kind of like looking at this other stuff around in the skill tree that I would ignore because I didn't think that I would want it, or that I would need it. But then as you keep progressing and you start having to unlock all those stuff, I you do realize that you actually want the other stuff also, or that you'll enjoy it, or you'll add it to your arsenal.
Right. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, good
Good
stuff. I'm
stuff.
still playing through it. I technically still have more story in there, so at least that's one thing that it is kind of like the carrot at the end of the stick that in a way it
Mm-hmm.
is keeping me going, just to get a conclusion to the story.
I gotcha.
Hmm.
I gotcha.
I Yeah, other than that, I'm still playing through Super Mario 64, although right before we started recording, I did technically beat the game. I defeated
Ah,
Bowser, I got the cake, and
Gay
all that stuff.
Bowser is no more. So long, Gay Bowser.
He doesn't say that in this one, which was a bit disappointing. He just says bye bye. That's all he says when he throws in over, which was a bit
That's funny.
disappointing, to be honest. But yeah, I beat the game. I At first, when I first picked up the game, I did kind of float the idea of getting all 120 stars.
Mm-hmm.
But then at some point playing through the game, I decided that I wasn't going to do it. But then later, at some other point, I did decide that I was going to do it. So right now, I think 8 stars away from getting every star.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. I
Do you
know
know which ones you have left? Are they all from a specific spot, or?
I got every star from every numbered level, but there are some other stars that don't like that. For example, when you pause a game, it tells you the name of every level, and it shows you the stars that you got.
Right.
There are some levels that don't have a specific name, so they are all grouped into Castle Secret stars.
Ah, okay.
So I got every star from every numbered level, but then now I think I'm just The only stars that I'm left with are stars that fall into the secret stars.
Right, yeah.
And I know where a couple of those are. And I've been pretty thorough as to whenever I got to a special area that I would get all of the stars that I knew were in that level. But then I know that I'm missing like 8 stars, but I can only think of 1 or 2 stars of as to where those could be. So I don't know. I'll have to go back with a guide to see
that's what
where
I was about
those secret stars are.
Just ask.
Because oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, is that I know that I got every star from every numbered level. It's just the secret stars.
Yeah.
So that's, since those are not numbered or they are not separated in this list of stars, that's gonna complicate stuff to know which one I don't have.
Okay. That's good. That's fair enough. You're right there at the end. I'm sure that won't take you much.
It won't take longer. It would be pretty easy. So I expected to get those pretty soon, and then to move on to Sunshine.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I think this week is actually going to end up being a fairly short show, especially since we don't have Alan and Gino here with us this week. We've given them the week off. But they will be joining us next week and will be back with us full time. Dude, I am so excited to have them on.
Yeah, me too.
The show.
To get people with other like viewpoints on games or other areas of expertise. I'm not saying that I'm not fine with you here, but there are stuff that we don't know of. Exactly. That it's nice to have people that will cover all those areas that we are deficient on.
Yeah, and it's been nice to get to know them and talk with them. I think they've done a fantastic job so far since we've had them on. We've been kind of doing this onboarding process with them, which is why they have the week off this week. But yeah, I'm super stoked to have them on the show. So they will be back this next week. But for now, let's move on to housekeeping. If you guys didn't know, we have multiple podcasts here at the Whatnauts. You guys can find out more information on our website, thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. Just type in the Whatnauts and all of our shows will pop up right there. If you guys like what we do, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is where you can support us. We have all kinds of exclusive content on our Patreon, including we just filmed a kind of Jackbox Party Pack Let's Play game night thing. So that will be up there very shortly. That has been something that we've been trying to do for a long, long time. That was an exclusive one for the Captain's Log. And then up next in the docket, we'll have to get some exclusive stuff for Crossplay in the mix there as well. But yeah, last but not least, a big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you, Sam, for helping us out, for keeping the mics on. We appreciate it tons.
Thank you, Sam. We appreciate you.
We really do. All right, let's get on to the news. Man, this came out of nowhere.
Yep.
Microsoft buys Bethesda. So, all right, this is coming from Joe Scrubbles at IGN, who writes, announced by head of Xbox Phil Spencer in Xbox Wire post today, Microsoft will acquire ZeniMax Media for $7.5 billion, which is 3 times the $2.5 billion it paid for Mojang and Minecraft in 2014. And the formal purchase is expected to close in the second half of 2021. The deal includes ZeniMax Media as a whole, Bethesda Softworks, Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, and Roadhouse Studios. And then in an update, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier and Dinah Bass report that Phil Spencer has said Microsoft will honor the PlayStation 5 exclusivity agreed for Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. The future Bethesda games will appear on Xbox, PC, and other consoles on a case-by-case basis. Woo!
Wow.
This is huge.
Yeah.
Dude,
and we started the week with these huge news.
Right? I woke up Monday and this was the talk of the town on Twitter, and I almost couldn't believe it because I was just like, no one's been talking about this. Like I hadn't heard a rumor or anything. And here it is.
Funny enough, we had heard kind of rumors that Microsoft wanted to buy WB Games, maybe.
Right.
But Bethesda came out of nowhere.
Well, one speculation that I heard was that since they were not able to buy WB, that maybe they turned that attention to Bethesda. But I don't think that makes sense because that's not something you just like pull out of your pocket, right? And be like, oh, well, I guess we
already
Bethesda,
have the money here,
right?
We already took the money out. It would be our ways if we did nothing with it.
Yeah. So this is interesting because at least from my perspective is that one of the things that people kind of critique Microsoft with is not only do they not have exclusives, which they are in the process of fixing, but a lot of their exclusives that they do have are multiplayer focused.
Yeah.
Whereas Bethesda is very much known as a studio that makes single-player games and has committed themselves to single-player games. Does this make you want to get an Xbox more?
I would say that it does kind of like if I was confident before on the PS5, I was super confident on the PS5. Right now with this news, I'm like my leg is shaking a bit. I'm still not enough to go full on Xbox. But yeah, seeing that Microsoft has bought Bethesda, it is a huge blow, in a way to Sony fans. Well, if it is a blow, it is still to be determined, to be seen, because Phil Spencer has said that the Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo exclusivities will still be upheld, so those games are still coming to PS5. But it is still to be determined the future of every other Bethesda game. I'm a huge fan of Dishonored, and I love Skyrim and Fallout 4, and it would be a huge bummer if I couldn't play those on my PS4. But it's still,
those ones you could probably still play on your PlayStation 4 since they've already been out.
I mean, for the future, for the upcoming Elder Scrolls games and the inevitable Fallout 5 or even Fallout New Vegas 2, which now that Microsoft owns both Bethesda and I'm blanking on the name. The people that made the Outer Worlds.
I'm blanking on their name too. I will look that up while you keep talking.
Now that Microsoft owns both of those studios, they can now probably will make a Fallout New Vegas 2. So it would be a huge bummer to see those games on
Private Division. I think Obsidian and published by
that's the name, Obsidian.
Private Division.
Yeah, now that they own both Bethesda and Obsidian, seeing as Obsidian was the ones that made Fallout New Vegas, they probably might end up making Fallout New Vegas 2. So,
Yeah,
like I said,
that's
seeing
an
all those sequels over,
interesting one.
if those sequels don't end up coming to the PS5, and specifically Arcane, I'm a huge fan of Dishonored. If they end up making a Dishonored 3 and it isn't coming to the PS5, that would be a huge bummer. But now it is still too soon to say. Phil Spencer has said that the other consoles will be determined in a case-by-case basis. I wouldn't be surprised if they kept Bethesda as a multi-platform developer, just because of Microsoft's their stance, which seems to be, we don't care where you play our games, we just want you to play our games.
Right.
So this will be a true test as to whether or not they do believe in that whole line. And even
There's
sorry.
there's been some speculation on that of whether or not these games will still be multi-platformed. And on one hand, yeah, I kind of want to agree with that of like, hey, they've kind of been touting this, you can play on any device as long as you play our games, right? But then $7.5 billion?
Mm-hmm.
I on one hand, I also feel like you don't pay that much money to have them available on the PlayStation 5.
Well, that's true. And if it were Nintendo or Sony, any other publisher would have done this deal, I would say 100% we won't see these games coming to any other platform. Microsoft being the one who bought it, it is such an interesting case because, yeah, you say that you don't pay $7.5 billion to bring your games anywhere else, but Microsoft is also the company that paid millions, if not billions of dollars in R&D and is marketing their newest console as, we don't care where you play our games. We'll just have our console here. We spent all of this money making the Series X the quote unquote most powerful console. Yeah. And we also spent all this money creating the Series S. But yeah, we don't care where you play our games. Play it on your phone, play it on your old Xbox Ones. We don't care about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Now, I think the next thing to think about is then the added value for Game Pass, right? Like,
yeah.
I believe it was Phil Spencer himself, but I know Microsoft has often said, or at least at once said, that, hey, we don't really see Nintendo and Sony as our competitors. We are looking at Amazon and Google. And so I think if you look at it from that perspective, yeah, you might still see some of these games out on multiple consoles and stuff like that. But the real value, the thing that they still want you to get, is Game Pass, right? Like, you can, sure, why not pay $60 for Prey 2, right? When you can just be a subscriber to Game Pass and get it on there. And so I think if that's the case, I think they are really trying to kind of squash the competition to be like, no, we actually will be the Netflix of gaming. Like, we will be that ubiquitous. Maybe Google will one day get there, make their thing. Maybe one day Amazon. But we will be the Netflix, right? The household name, the one that everyone has. And I think a move like that, like in that perspective, thinking about it that way, I think it makes a lot more sense. But I don't know. Well, big stuff.
Yeah.
And I am excited.
Yeah, it is true that more than anything, more than games, more than power, more than anything, Game Pass is Microsoft's biggest weapon in let's say, this console war, more than anything. And it is the thing that they are betting the most on.
Yeah.
So yeah, this for sure increases the value of Game Pass, seeing how this catalog of AAA games, because Bethesda is one of the biggest AAA developers, seeing all these AAA games coming day and date to Game Pass as a service where you can pay a small amount of money every month and get all of these games for, well, included on that pass. One of the things that I've seen people like comment or float around is the idea that what if Microsoft does indeed bring all their games to PS5, but sell those for say $70, and then have that since those games will also come into Game Pass for much cheaper, make that as one of your biggest marketing pushes, saying as
Right? Yeah.
hey, you
That's,
can
yeah.
look at how much you have to pay for that game over there, where over here you wouldn't pay nearly as much for that game
Yeah.
or
It's like
all of these other
pay
games.
pay $70 for one
Mm-hmm.
game, or pay $10 a month for hundreds of games, including all of the games in that series from that publisher, that studio, right? Like you get so much.
Yeah,
It's wild.
in an interesting way, bringing their games to their competitors' platform would work in a certain way as a marketing
Yeah.
employee to get
Yeah.
people onto your own system.
It's interesting indeed. You
Yeah.
also mentioned the Outer Worlds, which
Mm-hmm.
was when that came out, was kind of marketed as like, hey, this is going to be a competitor to
Mm-hmm.
Fallout, right? Like it's made by the Fallout New Vegas people.
Yeah.
So now they own both of them. That's also just kind of something that's neat to think about.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it is a funny thing to think
it's
about.
from the consumer's perspective, right? Like this is a
Mm-hmm.
good thing, right? We get to see,
For Xbox consumers, it would be, yeah.
sure, yeah. I mean, or just
I mean,
from a video
if I'm
game player,
if I'm someone who only plays on a PS5 and all these games are exclusive to Xbox One, it isn't good for me.
sure, sure. But in general, I think for
Mm-hmm.
a video game player and consumer, this is a good thing. However, I've also heard a lot of talk of like, well, we're starting to see a lot of consolidation within these like video game publishers and platform
Yeah.
holders and stuff, and that is kind of a scary thing to think about.
Yeah, it is kind of scary to see. Again, Bethesda was one of the biggest third-party developers, even
Right?
to the point that they had their own E3 presentation for so many years. It is
They
in a
they
bit,
have their own con. They have
yeah,
QuakeCon, which
it is in a
now,
bit
yeah,
scary to
might not happen. So
yeah, it is a bit scary to think that Microsoft just ate them all up and assimilated them now towards
yeah,
their own empire. And we'll still have to see whether or not Bethesda will remain the Bethesda that we knew, that we've known, or if Bethesda will end up changing, either for the good or the bad, if there will be any change.
yeah,
Microsoft has bought several studios lately for the last couple of years, and we still, from the latest acquisitions, we still haven't seen anything that has come out from a developer that was now owned by Microsoft and has developed a game made under Microsoft. Every game that we've seen from a developer that Microsoft has bought recently has been a game that was in development before that, be it
right.
The Outer Worlds or now in the future Psychonauts 2, or I know there was another example. I can remember it right now. But we still haven't seen any example of a game made under Microsoft from a new purchase and how that has changed the developer itself.
Yeah, that'll take some time.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
we'll have to see.
But that's exciting stuff to think about nonetheless.
And it was such a power move, $7.5 billion.
God, yeah. They were floating some numbers out there. I think Disney bought Star Wars for like
Yeah.
4 billion or something.
Yeah, I saw a chart recently about all the big tech purchases, not only the video game industry, but from tech companies as a whole. And yeah, this purchase was up there pretty high.
pretty big, yeah.
Yeah,
Which is interesting to think about, and I sometimes just think in my head of how do I explain how big video games are to someone who doesn't really understand? And I think something like this is just like, look, they paid more for this than Disney did for Star Wars, and you guys all know how big Star Wars is.
yeah,
right?
and it's not like
wild.
a video game company made the purchase. It was Microsoft, one of the biggest tech companies ever. If Microsoft is willing to pay that much for video games, it is clearly something that's pretty serious.
Huge, if true. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll have to wait and see if Sony is able to counterattack in a way.
I don't think they will, to be honest.
I do think they might.
One thing I heard that was interesting was that if Microsoft is aiming to have the Netflix of games, Sony is aiming to be more like HBO.
Yeah,
where it's like we might have less stuff, but we have stuff that hits, right? We have stuff that everyone wants.
That wasn't Sony's or PlayStation thing before. This idea of purchasing new studios and building up their own studio catalog, that was PlayStation's move. It was Xbox move before, and now Xbox took a page from their playbook and is now trying to beat them at their own game, picking up all these studios as of late. So I do wonder if Sony will end up, in a way, trying to, if there will be any kind of response. I don't think that Sony could afford making such big of a purchase as Microsoft did.
Does Sony have any third-party studios that they're working like extra closely with now that they've bought up Insomniac?
There was Quantic Dreams. That's one that the idea of Sony buying them has been floating around for ages now. There was that. There has been really a Dawn. I don't think they own.
Okay.
And they have made games for Sony also.
I could see them doing something more like that, where they are grooming a third-party studio for the next couple years to be like, hey, we're going to work closely with you. We'll help fund your game. We'll publish it. Let's have it be exclusive, but we will let you do your thing. If that makes sense. And then, in like 2 or 3 years time, then it's like, okay, now you've made it to the big leagues.
I could see them doing that. I don't know. That has been one thing that they've done in the past, not only Insomniac, but they've done that with other studios where it made sense for them to buy said studio because they have been working with them for so long. Right. So I do expect that to keep going.
Yeah. But and we'll have to see, because this is just speculation on my part, with Kojima working so closely with Guerrilla on Death Stranding. Maybe his studio would be a good candidate for that. Who knows?
I'm sure Sony wants to buy Kojima Productions, probably, but I don't know if Kojima wants to be bought, especially after the fallout that he had with Konami. I don't know if Kojima wants necessarily now to be tied up under such a big name. Yeah, I think he would rather be independent right now and have sealed that good relationship with Sony. But I don't know if right now he's willing to sell his company.
Agreed. Well, let's move on to number 2 here, which is some more big news. We had 2 big news announcements this week. We have a third one, but it's not as big. So here's the next one.
There wasn't many news this week. We had such a.
It was about to be a slow ass week, and it still seemed like a slow ass week. But these are big things, and there was just nothing else.
Well, it was going to be such a slow week. Then we got so early in the week these two giant stories, and then nothing or not much later
Yeah,
after that.
yeah. So number two here, Amazon has entered the game streaming war. This is coming from Jessica Condit at Engadget, who writes, Amazon has revealed Luna, its cloud gaming platform and the latest competitor to xCloud and Stadia. It goes live in early access this October, and signups to receive an invite are available now, US only at the moment. Luna will support Fire TV, PC, Mac, and iOS devices at first in early access, with Android support coming just weeks later. Then let's see. I have some bullet points here of some things that are included. There is an Alexa-enabled controller, and it will be available for $50 during early access. They say they are aiming for 4K 60, though it will initially be capped at 1080p and 60 frames per second. They recommend internet speeds of 10. God, why did my brain just fart right as I was about to read that? It's 10 mega what? Per internet speeds? I don't know.
It would be 10 megabytes per
megabits,
second. Or megabits?
megabytes per second.
I'm always
I don't know.
confused if it is megabits or megabytes when you're talking about speed.
Brain just completely farted at that and was just like, we're gonna stop you here. But yeah, 10 megabits per second for 1080p and 35 megabits per second for 4K. Their baseline service, which is called Luna Plus, is $6 a month. It will have additional packages available for you to pay more, and that will get you access to curated or publisher-specific games. They've already announced one for Ubisoft, which will be coming down the road. And it has some Twitch integration as well. Let's see, it says game pages will showcase streamers playing the title currently, and if you are on a Twitch streamer's page and they are playing a game that is available on their service, there will be a button to buy and play that game right there on their Twitch page. And then last but not least here, though Luna will be available on iPhones and iPads from day one, it is not a native iOS app. Luna is a progressive web application, meaning it's technically a browser-based program that only looks like a standard app. With Luna as a PWA, Amazon is bypassing Apple's App Store rules and fees. This is the stuff that Epic Games is battling with here. So, what do you think of Luna?
Well, first of all, I did not see this one coming, to be honest.
Neither did I. I had heard rumblings that they were wanting to do this, but yeah, they just announced it one day, like, "Hey, here's this thing."
Well, I would say in a way, it does kind of make sense for Amazon to do that. Amazon has been investing more and more on video games, and they've had some unsuccessful stuff with their attempts with video games.
Yeah.
But in a way, yeah, it does kind of make sense, seeing as Amazon not only, if you think of Amazon, you think, oh, does this online store where you can get anything you want. There's this whole other side of Amazon that people don't think about, which is all of their cloud infrastructure and all their web hosting and server farms and all that.
Yeah.
Amazon is huge on that side. So for them to now announce a new cloud service, I don't think that they are one of the few people that are well equipped to do something like this. And especially seeing now as both Google and Microsoft have shown such a huge interest in this, it does kind of make sense for them to hurry to the race to be one of the first in there to
Right. Yeah.
to get a good spot in the whole war. That's fastly approaching.
Yeah. So I think some of the major differences between this and like Stadia, for example, is that Stadia has a free tier, and I don't think Luna does. It says their baseline service is $6 a month.
To that point, Stadia isn't. It isn't that they have a base free version. You can just go into Stadia and buy a game for a regular price, and
Right.
if you're just doing it that way, you get, I think, only up to 1080p. But then you can pay for this other version of Stadia where you can get up to 4K and get some free games and some discounts. It isn't.
Yeah,
It isn't much
like
as
their
they have
PS
a few.
Plus.
Yeah, it isn't much as they have a free version. It's just they do it that way. Whereas Amazon now is doing something, I think it is pretty different from other people, which is having channels. Something that I'd never thought of for them to do.
It's kind of like what they do on Hulu. Whereas, like, you can be a subscriber for Hulu for a certain amount a month, but if you want the HBO package, right, it's like an extra $5 a month.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like that's what this will be. So they will. It sounds like they will have a catalog of content that you can play for $6 a month. But yeah, if you want to pay extra, you can get the Ubisoft package, which will have a bunch of Ubisoft games and stuff like that. Or it said they also had curated ones. So I'm just making this up. But for example, if like, oh man, I like stealth games, so I want to get their stealth game package, right? Like you can get that. I think that's neat.
Well, the channel thing here, it kind of like brings to mind all of the companies that are having their own like subscription services. For example, Ubisoft. Ubisoft has their own subscription service where you can get their games for free if you pay a certain fee, or there's also EA access, stuff like that. So the channel thing kind of reminds me of that. I think that if Luna does well, and especially if Ubisoft has or finds success with Luna, I could see someone like EA bringing their EA access into this, because like
Absolutely.
I said, it is such a good place for services like that to be in.
Absolutely. So I signed up to see if I could get early access.
And
But
I guess
no response yet, right?
No response yet, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it starts next month, so I should.
Yeah, it is pretty soon. It's surprisingly coming soon.
Yeah, so I might check it out if they let me in and let me play, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that.
And one of the biggest differences biggest differentiators between this and Stadia is that this is starting as an early access or a beta.
Yes.
Something like Stadia didn't do and then got burned for that.
Yeah, which that just means, you know, if there's some problems or some issues or stuff that they have to deal with, they they can just be like, well, hey, it's technically still in beta, so we're working on that, and we need your feedback to fix it.
Yeah. Hopefully this does well and we see Amazon expanding it. Amazon, like I said, it is one of the few companies that is well placed for something like this. And just like how I wanted Google to do well because I knew that Google could bring it to the whole world, Amazon is the company that is below the capabilities of right under Google in that way of capabilities. For example, we here in Chile have Amazon server farms. So hopefully that means that in the future we could get it, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So now let me ask you this. With this model, with their channels, right? Of like, hey, if you want the Ubisoft package or stuff like that, do you think this kind of saves them money in one way? Instead of buying studios, they can just do these add-on packages?
Yes, because I think that the Luna, instead of what we would see with a regular console where the console needs exclusives, I don't think that Luna necessarily would need exclusives. It's just if you market it as
there probably would be, though, because they do have their own game studio.
Yeah, I mean, of course you would see those, but I think if you market Luna as the place where you can find all these other services or all these companies like EA, Ubisoft, or any other company that decides to have their own service for the game catalog, if Luna advertises its service as the destination for all this stuff, I do think that it could be in a way a success. Hopefully.
So Microsoft, you know, they just bought up Bethesda, as we've been talking about and stuff. We also mentioned that they see themselves as competing with Amazon and Google. Are we going to look back at this and think Microsoft bit themselves in the ass to buy up all of these studios when they could have just done exclusive contracts with them to be like, hey, we want your games exclusively on Game Pass, instead of just buying the studio outright? All right, so let me back up. Instead of buying the studio outright, Microsoft could have made some contract to be like, hey, you can put this on PC or whatever platform you want. However, when it comes to cloud streaming services, they'll be exclusively on Game Pass. Does that make sense?
I don't know. To a certain extent, I do see where you're coming from, but I think that as you get bigger and bigger with the company and with your games, I do think that Game Pass for you, it starts to be a worse deal if you decide to have your own games on Stadia. For example, think of the most AAA of the AAA games that that would sell. You know that it would be better for you to sell the game outright than have it as a part of a games a service like that. So I don't think that Game Pass is a good deal for every publisher. So when you buy the company outright, there is no other choice for the company. You are basically forcing them to be on your service. So to a certain extent, there you get to the point where having your game on Game Pass, it starts to become less enticing.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure how all of that works. I guess at the end of the day, that would just be third party exclusives and stuff, and I'm not sure that makes much of a difference there. But interesting things to think about.
And also, I do want to talk about the Amazon getting Luna onto iPhones and iPads.
Right. Yeah. That's the next big thing here.
Kudos to them for finding a loophole. Because that's what it is. It is a loophole.
Because is that how the Amazon app then works on my phone? that it's technically not an app?
Well, it depends on the app.
Because I use the Amazon app all the time to buy things.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
as far as I
does that mean
know,
that iOS or that Apple is getting a cut of all of my
no.
purchases?
Well, that's a different kind of loophole that Amazon has in there. As far as I know, you cannot buy anything directly from the app. For example, Comixology, if I'm not mistaken, you cannot buy directly from the app. You have to go to the page to buy, to the
Yeah, you
web
have to
page to
go
buy it.
to the website with that.
Yeah, that
But
in
on
there
the
would it's a loophole.
Amazon with the Amazon app itself, though, I can just hit buy and I can pay for it right there.
But pay what?
However much the thing is.
No,
if
pay
I
for
want
what?
to pay, food,
Oh, so you're talking about
toys,
the
video
Amazon
games.
Amazon
just
proper app.
Yes, just the app.
Well,
Amazon app.
As we saw with the whole xCloud case, Apple has different rules for different types of apps. For the same reason that you can have Netflix and you don't need to make such a fuss for it having all these movies in there, and you don't have Apple doesn't have to rate them one by one. Whereas with xCloud, they do have to rate it one by one if you want to get them in there. It is, I think, a different rule for stuff like games. But yeah, I'm
Weird.
for the whole thing that they had against Epic, how they didn't like how they would circumvent their, or not really circumvent their thing, that the way that they started doing their whole purchase stuff, that did clash with how Apple allowed that kind of stuff. But then for stuff like Comixology, Apple or Amazon decided to just go through a different route and do something that it is technically allowed. But yeah, I don't know. It's all I think a case by case thing when you're talking about this stuff. And Amazon has found loopholes in the past, and now they found yet another loophole for their own thing. For Luna.
I wish they would all just be like, you know what? Let's all make money together and just make everything revolve around me, right? Because I am the most important person in the world. Yeah?
No, Kyle, for
Agreed.
them, you are not the most important person in the world. For them, the most important people is their own shareholders.
Yeah. They don't care about me at all. Because I wish I could buy comics right in the Comixology app, but it's stupid.
A company's mission is to make the most money for their shareholders. It's not to make you happy.
They're not my friend.
No.
Let's go eat the rich. Let's move on to number 3 here. It looks like there is a new PSVR patent. Oops, I forgot to write who this was coming from over at IGN. This is from Jordan Oleman, who writes, a Sony patent has been found suggesting that the next iteration of PlayStation VR will feature inside-out tracking and new finger-freeing controllers, not unlike the controllers used for Oculus devices. The patent documentation was found by Let's Go Digital, and the images supplied suggest that this new headset will feature inside-out tracking, meaning there will be no need for an external camera to track your hand movements. It will all be taken care of by the headset and a sensor within the controllers. Thoughts on this, Ignacio, as someone who has a VR set? You have PlayStation VR, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what does this do for you?
Well, first thing first, we do have to take this with a grain of salt. We have seen several patents come from Sony and never amount to anything. Even in this show, we've talked about several patents coming from Sony. That being said, Sony hasn't backed out from VR. I don't think it is necessarily the success that one would have wanted, but Sony has shown that they are still behind VR. They are still bringing their games to VR. We saw that recently this year with their partnership in making Iron Man VR. So I do think that Sony eventually will probably try to make another PSVR headset, a PSVR 2, let's call it. And if you do that, it makes sense. But if you do that, I don't think that you can get away with making it not a wireless headset to start. And then if you're going to make it better, I do think that having the cameras inside or on the headset itself has proven that that is the better way to the better approach to VR. So if they end up making a PSVR 2, this would be the natural thing. I think the natural path that they would choose.
It seems to me, from someone who does not have VR and is not really interested in VR, that they have a similar issue to what the Switch is facing right now, where games are starting to get bigger. They're starting to get they involve more stuff, and the PlayStation VR was never the most cutting edge thing, right? Like they had it. It was cheaper. It could still play a lot of those things, and they had enough money to.
It does a job pretty well.
Yeah, and I think that's basically what the Switch did up until now, but with this next gen of gaming going to be here in a month and a week or so, like they need to do something to kind of keep up with the times, right?
Yeah, I don't think that they necessarily do need to make any changes right now, because most of the processing power for the PSVR doesn't come from the unit itself. It comes from the PS4 right now. So since we're gonna get better consoles, you will see more improvements on the output that you get on the PSVR. But that being said, the PSVR does become a limiting factor at some point. There is a certain point where the PSVR cannot make anything look better than what it does right now. It can have better processing, but it cannot output a signal that is more than it is physically capable of. So at some point, I don't think anytime soon, but at some point, they will need to make a change. I don't think that they are in a rush right now. But and even if, say, for example, in the future, VR evolves into being more immersive, be it, I don't know, they find a way to make more precise movement inside games or better tracking for certain things like hand movement or stuff like that. If VR does move in that direction,
neural implants, that's what we need, right? Where you can just think it, and
Tesla
works that way.
Not Tesla. Elon Musk is already working on that, so let's give it a couple of years. Right now. But yeah, I do think that at some point, especially if VR keeps evolving, Sony will need to keep up in a way. But I don't think right now that they are in any hurry.
That makes sense. We'll see, but that is some exciting news to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, but again, we should take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah. That's about it for the news this week. There's not much.
Nope.
There's not much. We do have some upper runners coming down the road, but for now, let's get into our new and notable section. Apparently, there's a bunch of classic Konami games now available on GOG. This is including Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance, and Konami Collector's Series, which has both Castlevania and Contra. on there. If I'm not mistaken, these are like the first time that these are available on a PC or something
Not
like
every
that.
game here. Metal Gear Solid and Solid 2 Subsistence have been on PC before, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know for all the Castlevania and Contra games or the original Metal Gear.
Gotcha. They had something on their website or the site that I was looking on that had this, because I was looking up if they were available now or not, which they are. You guys can go.
You can go right
now. But yeah,
for the games that are included, I do think that it is a good deal in there.
Yeah,
especially if you
they
haven't played
cheap.
this game.
I think the first Metal Gear was like $5.
Mm-hmm.
So just like hell yeah.
I think they're all $5.
Play that one. I think 2 was $9.99.
It makes sense. It is.
But I think that was the most expensive.
Game. Yeah, well, it is a game that came out on the PS2, where Metal Gear Solid came out on the PS1, Metal Gear for the NES, and all the Castlevania and Contra games that are in there. They're all old.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you haven't played them, I do, at least on the Metal Gear side, I do highly recommend that you play those games. They are great.
Yeah. Falcon Age is ending its Epic Store exclusivity and coming to Steam on October 8th. So be on the lookout for that one. I think it was PC Gamer. They were like, hey, it's a first-person hooter.
Yeah,
like,
and then
God.
I love seeing the reactions from the developers and the publishers, or not the publisher, but the people that helped put the game out. I did love seeing them saying, "Oh, how didn't we think of that before?"
Good stuff though. Doom Eternal is coming to Game Pass on October 1st, and it will launch on Game Pass for PC at a later date. I'm hoping that's by the end of the month, because I know Doom Eternal is also releasing their DLC, I think, on the 20th, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that. I'm excited for that one once it hits PC, because I wasn't going to buy that game because I didn't like the first one, but I still kind of wanted to play this one just to see what it was. So I'm happy that it's coming to Game Pass.
Yeah, we're now seeing the acquisition of Bethesda making it.
Yeah, well, it was really funny because I wrote on Twitter, I guess it was Monday night or Tuesday night, I don't remember, but I saw that Dishonored 2 was coming off of Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
In October, and so I was just like, I have a feeling this will be back very soon.
Yeah, you'll see the whole catalog over there.
Yeah, that'll be on there soon. Those are good games too. Play Dishonored.
Oh yeah,
great games.
Great game.
Let's see. Baldur's Gate 3 early access was delayed by 1 week to October 6th. They also updated their Twitter account from Baldur's Gate to Baldur's Late. So, New and Notable is filled with all sorts of puns this week. Besides that, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, will be out on October 2nd, as well as Star Wars Squadrons. That will
Why is this one
also
here?
Be out October 2nd.
Is it just a reminder?
That is a reminder, because it is notable that they are out this week.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I'm gonna get Star Wars Squadrons right away or just yet. I might wait and see how that does. I might not get it at all, because I know it is mainly multiplayer focused.
Well, it has a single player story in there.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I'll also wait.
Not the focus.
I'll play Crash Bandicoot that day, so I'll wait for Squadrons.
And last but not least, we finally have a date for the Game Awards. They will be on Thursday, December 10th. So save the date, clear your schedules, cancel all your meetings, hold the phones.
Yeah, and it will be, of course, in a new format that we haven't seen before.
Yes,
And
indeed.
they also announced that they were going to do some international stuff. It will be like a multicast between the US, some places in Europe, Japan, I think.
Yeah, the graphics and stuff that they put out for this made it seem real classy. I was like, ooh, I like this. This is good looking stuff.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
So yeah, I am excited about that indeed. But let's move on to our upper runners. Ignacio.
Yep.
You're about to have a new favorite movie.
I don't know.
They announced a Yakuza movie. A live action Yakuza film. I believe they announced this at Tokyo Game Show, which was happening this weekend. Thoughts on Yakuza getting a movie?
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, if it comes to theaters, maybe we'll end up watching it. But I don't know if
I think this
live
could
action
be fun.
Yakuza movie. Well, first of all, there is already a live action Yakuza movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. I think it is pretty obscure. But yeah, I don't know. Video games movies in general never, well, not never. There are some cases, but usually don't end up well. So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Although since it is a Sega property, and the last video game movie that we saw was Sonic the Hedgehog, which is already also a Sega property, and I really like that movie. So who knows?
What if they go the route of Jessica Rabbit, where everyone else is live action, and then there's Kiryu, who is the video game character, and he's confused as to why he's in real life.
That would be horrible. That's a move that you would have seen on the late 90s, early 2000s for a video game movie.
Shot down by Ignacio.
That would be horrible.
Idea. That would be terrible.
Hopefully it is a good movie. Yakuza has a great story. Every Yakuza game has a great story.
They do. I think I would
translate.
prefer a show. Like, I want a Yakuza Netflix
it would work
show.
better as a show. Especially since the Yakuza games are so long. It would be better for it to be a show than a movie for sure.
Let's see. Next up, the Xbox app for iOS got an update that now supports remote play for Xbox One and Xbox Series X. From what I understand, this works similar to the PlayStation remote play, where you have to have that home console. It's not streaming it from the cloud or stuff like that. It's, while your significant other is watching the Sonic the Hedgehog movie on the big screen, but you still want to play Yakuza. And you're just like, I'm going to remote play to my phone and do it that way.
We knew it was coming, so now it's out.
There you go.
Cool.
Good stuff. Yeah. Epic Games has acquired Super Awesome, which they are creating a range of kid-safe services. I'm not sure exactly what that entails, but I think it's neat that they are trying to put kids first in some cases, right? And just be like, hey, let's build some stuff that they can interface with and some protections and stuff for them. That is always a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, we initially had this in our news section, but I kind of wanted to put it down here because it's a rumor, so take this with a grain of salt. But according to the YouTuber Red Gaming Tech, a Metal Gear Solid remake is in the works as a PlayStation 5 console exclusive, with HD remasters of 2, 3, and 4 also in the works. Thoughts on this, Ignacio?
I hope that it is true. I hope it's real.
That would be an interesting one, because the first one I played was 2. No, was 3, I think. And then I went back and played 2. Wait a minute, no, because 2 was Sons of Liberty and 3 was Snake Eater, right? Yeah, so I started with 2 and then did 3, 4, and 5. But I've never played the original one.
Oh.
So if this happens, I would love it.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid really 1 is a great game.
Metal Gear games.
Yeah. And still stands up to this day.
Yeah. And it would be neat to get to play them all back to back, or at least in chronological order, so I can kind of follow the story a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Right?
I did that when the Legacy Collection came to the PS3.
That's nice.
I would do that again. Play through all those games again.
Man, 5 was so good though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my dream would be that they remake Metal Gear Solid 1 on the Fox engine.
Fox engine? Oh, yes. Please.
Yeah.
Please make that happen. Konami, you are doing nothing with that engine.
You're doing nothing right
now. Hopefully. But yeah, take that with a grain of salt. I don't really have much more to say on that. I also have no idea who Red Gaming Tech is, or if he's just making this all up.
Yeah. Nah.
So,
who knows?
Who knows?
Apparently, he has had some correct predictions before.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, that's about all we got for this week. This is a short one. Almost an hour and a half. Okay. There you go.
Last week it was a long one, and this one's a short one.
Short one indeed, yeah. Well, like I mentioned last week, I think for the near future, we're going to keep the podcast as you know it. But I'm sure having up to 4 hosts on the show, you guys might see some changes down the road as we kind of get used to having more people on the show, because we don't want to keep people too long, but we also want the conversations to be natural, stuff like that, So
yeah,
good stuff. Ignacio, what are you excited for this week? What's on the agenda?
Oh, well, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I have been rewatching Digimon, and so this week I finally hit the Digimon Tri movies. Yesterday I watched the last one of those, so tonight I'm actually going to watch Digimon Adventure Kizuna, Last Evolution Kizuna, which is the last movie that came out.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to watch it. It was going to come out on theaters at the beginning of the year in March, but since COVID happened and all that stuff happened, I wasn't able to watch it. So
you haven't seen this one?
No, because it hasn't come out officially after
brand new
after
Digimon content.
Boy, I can't wait. Yesterday I watched the last of the Tri movies, and that got me very emotional. So now going to watch Kizuna and knowing that that's supposed to be the last adventure for this crew, boy, I cannot wait for the crying that it will occur.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. So last weekend I started watching Deadwood. It's an HBO show. It's a Western. I'm in the middle of watching season 2 right now, so I'm excited to keep up with that show. I just got done watching Gundam Zeta, so now I gotta do Double Zeta, so I'm looking forward to that. finished up season 1 of Star Wars Resistance, so now I'm on to season 2 of that. Oh man, I have a bunch of comics to read.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa and I have been reading Irredeemable for the review show, and that got me in a comics rating mode. And Joshua Williamson just finished up his run on The Flash, and I am a number of issues behind on that run, so I think I need to catch up on that. Man, there's so much. So much. And yeah, I still want to get into Hades at the end of that. So I think it'll be a good couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Down the road. We're starting to get, it's like October is the start of fall gaming season. Next gen is just over a month away. I'm excited.
So close.
Here we go. It's about to get,
Here we go.
It's about to get exciting, folks. There we go. That being said, Ignacio, where can the people find you on the internet?
Well, they can find me on Twitter at Ignacio Rojas B. That's IGNACIOROJASB. That's my name.
You can find me at YoKyleSpringer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with our shows, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. Please go like, share, subscribe, especially subscribe to us on YouTube. We are 11 subscribers away from 100. So if you could help us reach 100, that would be amazing. And surpass that would be incredible. But I believe that is it. Go like, share, subscribe, spread the word. We could use your help with all of that stuff. But yeah, that wraps us up. So we will see you guys next week for another episode of Crossplay. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. We hope you enjoyed that one. Let us know in the comments down below if you guys are excited for Bethesda to have all of their games on Game Pass, or what you think of Amazon Luna, if you guys think that will succeed or not. And in the meantime, go subscribe to our channel, which is up here in this corner, and go watch one of our other videos, which is right down here in that corner. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.